Everyone said he was too formal, too rigid, a decorated Marine who'd forgotten how to live. But Captain Eli Dawson was more than his uniform. He believed in honor, not popularity. When the annual Marine Corps charity ball rolled around, surrounded by suits, influencers, and whispers of +1s, Eli quietly scribbled a note and slid it onto his assistant's desk. "Will you go to the ball with me?" No fanfare, just ink and hope. Her name was Clara. Soft-spoken. Wore oversized glasses. Walked with a limp from a car accident. Some whispered she was too plain for him. But Eli noticed her patience. The way she never let the world see her struggle. The way she once brought lunch for a grieving mother who came looking for her late son's medals. When word got out that Eli had asked her to the ball, the mess hall filled with snickering. A captain could have anyone, and he asks the girl with a limp, one smirked. But Eli said nothing. He'd seen war. He knew how little beauty on the outside mattered. Clara, on the other hand, hesitated. Why me? Was this a joke? Her heart raced, memories of past humiliations clawing up. But when she found Eli waiting by her car the next evening, holding a single white rose, her defenses crumbled. "I asked because I meant it," he said. "You remind me what real strength looks like." Tears welled up in her eyes. Not from pity, but from a sudden, overwhelming sense of being seen. For the first time in years. And still, no one knew that when she'd walk into that ballroom, she'd change everything. The ballroom shimmered, chandeliers glinting like stars, tuxedos crisp, gowns glittering. Everyone looked perfect. Or tried to. Eli stood near the entrance in full dress blues. His medals caught the light, but it wasn't those that drew stares, it was the empty space at his side. People whispered, waiting to see if he'd really bring her. Some expected a no-show. Others bet on him changing his mind. One lieutenant chuckled, "Watch him switch last minute. He has a reputation to protect." Then, silence. The grand doors opened. And Clara walked in. Not limping. Not hiding. She wore a flowing midnight blue dress, her hair swept up elegantly, her glasses replaced with contact lenses, but her eyes, steady, kind, unchanged. She walked with a quiet grace, leaning slightly on a cane, yes, but owning every step. Eli's breath caught. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. He walked toward her slowly, deliberately. Extended his hand. And without hesitation, Clara took it. Mouths fell open. Conversations died. A photographer near the entrance lowered his camera, stunned. "Is that the same girl?" someone whispered. "She looks beautiful." But Eli didn't see someone transformed. He saw someone revealed. The world was only catching up. When they stepped onto the dance floor, the crowd parted. Music swelled. And for a moment, it felt like they were the only two people in the room. Clara leaned in and whispered, "They're all staring." Eli replied, "Let them. They'll never understand what courage looks like." As they moved together, not perfectly, but sincerely, something began to shift in the room. Judgments faded. A few Marines began clapping. Then more. And the ones who laughed before. They weren't laughing now. Because kindness had just walked in, and owned the night. The dance ended, but the evening had just begun. As Clara and Eli walked off the floor, senior officers approached. One shook Eli's hand and nodded toward Clara. "That's the kind of presence we don't teach in boot camp." Clara blushed. She wasn't used to compliments. But Eli squeezed her hand gently, grounding her. They moved to a quieter corner of the ballroom where dim light touched the photographs of fallen Marines, a memorial wall set up for the night. Clara's gaze stopped at one frame. Her fingers trembled as they reached for it. "That's Corporal Andy Keller." Eli nodded solemnly. He saved my life. Took a bullet in Helmand. I never got to thank his family. Clara's eyes glistened. He was my cousin. For a moment, time froze. Then Eli looked at her, really looked, not just as the assistant who fetched reports and coffee, but as someone stitched into his past in ways he never imagined. "You're Keller's cousin," he said, voice low. He used to talk about a little girl who wrote him poems, said they were the only reason he smiled some days. Clara's hand flew to her mouth. That was me. Emotion swelled in both of them, not sadness, but something deeper. Recognition. Legacy. A Marine's sacrifice binding two souls in unexpected ways. "I never knew," Eli said softly. "Neither did I," Clara whispered. Just then, a small crowd formed. Eli was being called to the podium to say a few words, the annual tradition for the highest-ranking veteran present. He turned to Clara. "Will you stand beside me?" "I'm no one special," she replied, still overwhelmed. But he shook his head. "You're the reason I'm standing here at all." Eli stood at the podium, the weight of medals across his chest suddenly feeling heavier than usual. The ballroom was quiet, every gaze locked on him. Beside him, Clara stood with uncertain hands and a heart pounding like war drums. He cleared his throat. "Tonight, we honor not just the Marines who served, but those who gave everything." He paused, looked at Clara, and continued. "I was saved by one of them, Corporal Andy Keller. I never knew the little poems that kept him going came from someone standing beside me now." Whispers rippled through the room. Clara lowered her head, shy and unsure. But then, Eli stepped back. "Tonight," he said, voice steady, "I want you to hear from her." Clara's eyes widened. She shook her head. "I can't." "Yes," he whispered. "You already have. Every day you show up. Quiet. Strong. Unseen. Just like the best of us." Reluctantly, Clara stepped forward. Her voice trembled at first. "When Andy was deployed, I wrote him every week. I never knew if it mattered, until now." She paused, glancing across the sea of uniforms and eyes that had once looked past her. "I used to think Marines were heroes because they were fearless. But now I know, they're heroes because they feel deeply, and keep going anyway." The room stilled. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. She took a deep breath. "And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do, is invite someone like me to dance." Tears glistened in several corners of the room. Eli stood tall beside her. In that moment, no one remembered her cane, or her limp, or her quietness. They saw her courage. And for the first time, the Marine Ball honored not just the strong, but the kind. Later that night, Clara stood alone beside the memorial wall, her hand resting gently beneath Andy's photo. The crowd had begun to fade, but the weight of the evening still pressed on her chest, heavy, meaningful. Eli approached silently and stood beside her. "He used to draw stars on his letters," she said softly. "He said the desert at night reminded him of home." Eli nodded. "He used to tape your poems inside his locker. Read them before every mission." Clara turned to him, voice trembling. "Why me, Eli? Out of everyone you could have brought tonight, why choose me?" Eli didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled something from his jacket pocket, a faded scrap of paper, creased 100 times over. It was a poem. Her poem. "I found this tucked into his helmet after the blast," he said, voice rough. "I kept it. Didn't know why." Clara's knees buckled. Eli caught her. "You see yourself as broken," he said gently, "but you saved a man who saved me. And you've been showing up every day with quiet strength most people don't even recognize." Clara looked down, tears falling silently. "You reminded me what I fight for," he whispered. "Why I kept going when I came back." Then he added, you weren't just my assistant, Clara. You were the first person who made me feel human again. The pain, the laughter, the silence, it all collided in that moment. And then something even more unexpected happened. A young girl walked up, maybe 10 years old, and asked Clara, "Are you the lady who read at the microphone?" Clara nodded, unsure. The girl smiled shyly. "You made me want to be strong, even if I walk different too." And just like that, kindness echoed forward. Weeks had passed since the Marine Ball, but something had shifted in Clara's life. The office no longer felt like a shadowed corner of forgotten papers. People smiled more when they saw her. Some even stopped to talk. One afternoon, a sealed envelope arrived at her desk. She opened it carefully. Inside was an invitation, Annual Veterans Gala, Guest of Honor, Clara Keller. Her breath caught. She walked into Eli's office holding the invitation. "I don't understand," she whispered. Eli looked up and smiled. "They heard your speech. And I told them everything. About your cousin. About the poems. About how you carried a legacy no one saw." Clara blinked back emotion. "I never asked for this." "I know," Eli said. "That's why you deserve it." The night of the gala arrived. This time, Clara walked without fear. Her cane still clicked softly, but her presence was radiant. Cameras flashed, not because she was glamorous, but because she carried something far rarer, grace. She took the stage, trembling but proud. Behind her, a large screen lit up. A photo appeared, young Corporal Andy Keller, smiling in uniform, holding a wrinkled poem titled, "Stars Still Shine in Silence." Gasps filled the room. Clara read the poem aloud. And when she finished, the entire room stood. Not out of courtesy, but out of reverence. Eli stepped forward, holding out his hand once more. "Care to dance?" he said. Clara nodded, tears streaking her cheeks. They danced, this time not as assistant and captain, but as two people shaped by love, sacrifice, and silent strength. Around them, strangers wiped tears. The applause wasn't just for her. It was for every unseen heart. Every quiet act. Every soul that chooses kindness. And somewhere above, under unseen stars, Andy Keller smiled.